Hey guys, I've been meaning to do a proper video about this for quite some time. You've probably already seen the other videos, the kind of rambly ones, but I wanted this one to be a little bit more specific. And I'm also going to out who is responsible, because that's the only justice that I'll ever have. So, as you probably already know, Halloween Hauntathon did not happen. I really wanted it to, and I came up with ideas and I picked the movies that I was going to do, but I was sick and I was sad and I just couldn't get it together this year, which makes me even more sad because I love Halloween. But basically all of this is due to the sexual assault that I suffered earlier this year in February. I was working with this individual at a place called Axis Family Resources Limited, and I was just taking care of adults with mental illness, and he seemed to take a shining to me right away. And so I had my female coworkers tell him that I was engaged and that I wasn't interested, like that we could be friends because we both studied psychology and stuff, and that was fine, but nothing else. So they told him, and I figured that that would be fine. And at that point in time, and even still, I didn't have any friends where I lived, and I just thought, this is going to be a great opportunity. I get to be friends with someone who, we work together and we have a lot in common. So one day after work, I went over to play video games with him, and we played some Gears of War, and everything was fine at first. And then he started to make a move on me. So he grabbed my legs and tried to put my legs on his, and I was like, no, I'm good. And I took them back, and he did that again and tried to do it more forcefully. And I was like, look, we can be friends, but I am engaged and I love my fiance and I don't want this at all. And he continued. He put his arm around me, and the one beer that we were meant to have together became like, I don't even know how many, because likely I was drugged. So he kept getting more and more forceful, and he wanted me to stay overnight. That was his thing. He didn't want me to leave. He wanted me to stay overnight, and that I could sleep in his bed and stuff like that. And I was like, what the fuck? So he always got a little bit annoyed when I was on my phone, but I kept sending like help messages to my mom and to my fiance and to anyone, or just phoning them so that, maybe they would pick up on the fact that I was in danger. So he kept intermediately like leaving the room and going to take another shot of whatever, vodka, some hard liquor, to, I guess, build himself up. And finally it got to the point where I believe he tried to kiss me, and I said, no, like, I don't want this, I'm not interested, I want to go home if this is what you're gonna fucking do, because this is not what I want. And he took the rejection really, really badly. So rather than just stopping, he decided to attack me. So on the couch, he lunged at me and he grabbed my breasts, forcefully squeezing them to the point where it was a great deal of pain, and trying to force himself on me and trying to touch me in my other regions, and just forcefully holding me onto the couch so that I couldn't get up. So I just kind of shut down at that moment. It was almost like playing dead, and I desperately, I got my cell phone, I slipped it out of my purse, I got it in my hand, I put it in my sleeve, and I was like, I really have to pee. So I went to the washroom, and I called everyone in my family and no one picked up. I called my fiance, no one picked up. And that seems to be a theme for me. No one's ever really there when I need them. It's not their fault. It's not like they know, but no one would answer. So I just kept texting Jordan, help, 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 please help, come get me, help. And so I kind of blacked out in the bathroom because, again, I was probably drugged. And I was in there for too long, I guess. So he kind of slammed the door in, and he picked me up off the floor and wrapped his hands around my waist, possibly copping a feel again as well, and led me to his bedroom. And he just set me into his bed, laid me down, and I was there and terrified. Luckily, I still had my phone with me. So I, at this point, was very disoriented because I was drugged, there was alcohol, I was barely aware of anything that was going on, and he kept leaving the room, going to take a shot and coming back as though he's trying to build up his liquid courage to do this. So he came back into the bedroom and he sat beside me and he forced his hand down my pants and up my shirt while I'm screaming no. And I basically force him off. I just take my legs and push him off of me, and he gets really, really pissed off and like calls me a frigid bitch, and then goes and has a few more shots. Then he came back, and I was laying in bed, like, in shock. I had no idea what to do. I had texted so many times and no one was getting back to me. And he just came into the room. I was laying in bed. I had my hand out. I was playing dead, basically. And he put his, like, flaccid dick in my hand and wanted me to jack him off, basically. Or give him head, which, you know, wasn't going to happen. So I just laid there and pretended to be dead while he had his little flaccid penis in my hand. And then he got frustrated because I wasn't doing anything and I wasn't doing what he wanted me to do, and that he was pissed off because that was why I was here, was to sleep with him and to fool around, and that I was just okay and that he could do better than me, and that I wasn't a 10 and that I should be honored to have him interested in me. So at that point he, you know, put his thing back in his pants and crawled on top of me on the bed and held me down, and again tried to get underneath my stuff and feel me in places and whatever, even though I was crying out in pain and horror and screaming at the top of my lungs for help. And then he tried to kiss me. I'm not even sure that he did the entire time. I'm not sure. But I just kept screaming for help, and he was getting frustrated at this, so he decided to strangle me. And he did for quite some time because I believe that I blacked out from strangulation. I'm not 100% sure just because of the whole drug ordeal, but it was incredibly scary. So while he was strangling me, I again mustered up the courage because I have strong ass legs, and I pushed him off of me, and he got up and he was really fucking pissed and that I was just a giant bitch and whatever, and then went and got a few more shots. And I saw my opportunity. I had my phone and I was like, if I don't stop this, it's gonna get to the point where, you know, it's, you know, rape in that sense. It was still rape, but that his little wiener would have been inside of me, and that was not gonna happen. So I saw my opportunity. He left the room. I got my phone that I hid like underneath his bed, and I ran into his closet and called 911. And I was hysterical, and the 911 caller stayed on the phone with me until the police arrived. He was just looming in the hallway staring at me like he was going to kill me for calling the police. But I stayed there, and then eventually the police did show up. So one police officer did go to him, and then one came to me and physically removed me from the closet. So it's pretty obvious what happened. And so the police officers decided, like, whatever, they wanted to know whether or not I was going to charge him. And I was just in so much shock that I was like, whatever, just take me home. I just need to get home. I need to see Jordan. I need to see him. So they took me home, and that's where my mom was met with my hysterical, screaming, crying fit for like 2 straight hours, and Jordan as well. And I then decided that I had to press charges, because there's such a low percentage of women that do press charges after sexual assault just due to humiliation or fear, and they're all valid reasons, and I don't blame anyone for not being able to do that. I just figured, you know, I have been raped in the past by a boyfriend, and I regretted letting him get away with it, and I wasn't going to let this guy get away with it, because what happened to me happened to me. You know, I can take it, but the strangulation is an escalation of violence. It is an indication that it is not the first time he's done it, and I can almost certainly say it's not the first time he's done it, and it's not going to be the last time he does it. So it wasn't about me and getting revenge or getting justice for myself. It was too late for me. I just wanted to make sure that that monster couldn't touch another girl and, you know, destroy her, ruin her life. So I pressed charges. I went to the hospital to do a rape kit, where I was refused. They kept explaining to me that there would be no point in having a rape kit because there was no semen inside of me. And I was like, okay. But like, as far as I'm aware of rape kits, they can get skin from underneath your fingernails. They can get anything within your mouth. They can check you for bruising. They can check for trauma. They can check for anything. And they didn't. Not a single thing. They just refused. That there was no point to do a rape kit. They didn't take my blood, so they didn't check for my alcohol level. They didn't check for whether or not I had a date rape drug in my system. They absolutely failed me, to the point where all that I had going for me was a bruised and marked bright red neck, and circumstantial evidence of being there and being removed from there. So yeah, so everything just failed me, and I had an individual, a police officer, come in, ask me for my side of the story, which is always the thing that I think needs to change, because after, like 3 hours after something like that is not going to be when you know anything, because it's trauma. Like, your first response to trauma is to block it. You want to forget. And so I gave the best, like, recollection that I could, but because I was likely drugged, and because it had just happened, it wasn't as detailed as the one that I gave the second time. And so the police officer said, look, like, trauma's that it does that to you, so you can feel free to email me for the next few days if you remember anything else in specifics and stuff like that. So I did. And I emailed him every single thing that I remembered over the past few days, because I had time to digest and reflect on it and remembered more gory details and things like that. So I did that. The police officer decided to charge him for assault, sexual assault, and something else. I'm not exactly sure what, hoping that at least the assault would go through, because sexual assault never goes through. Not anywhere, but not in Canada either, which I think is absolute fucking bullshit. So I pressed charges. It had been less than a week, and I got a call from some lady at the law office or at the courthouse, whatever, and she was like, just to let you know, the charges have been dropped and there will be no court date or trial. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, because your first statement didn't quite match your second statement, and those inconsistencies would prove that you are not telling the truth. And I study psychology, so I know that's not true. And I know that she knows that's not true. So I was like livid, because it was not for me. It was for everyone else. I wanted to protect any other girl that I could from someone like him. It just, I just wanted to do that. I just wanted to do one heroic thing in my life, and that was it. So I was furious. I called the Crown, who made the decision, and she said, well, we did have to drop the charges just because nothing added up, or like things were too different and you remembered too many things after a couple days, so that's not gonna like really hold up in court. And she said, and it's not that I don't believe you, it's that to put you on the stand and to make you look at this guy who did that to you and have the defense rip you apart is only going to re-traumatize you. It's not going to be good for you, and I've seen this so many times, and you're absolutely not going to win. You're not going to win. You're going to lose, you're going to be humiliated, and you're going to be re-victimized. And I was like, so I would have gone through with that. I would have been humiliated and re-victimized. It wouldn't have mattered. I'm completely up for that. But they decided that that was not my option, and that was not my choice. So so they were dropped. Nothing came of it. He was fired from his job eventually, but he was paid for weeks. I went on stress leave and I was paid nothing. When I returned to work triumphantly, like a week after, simply because I needed the money and I was not going to be given any compensation, I worked really hard at my job because I loved my job, because I love working with people with I love working in any area in mental health. So I really loved my job and I did really, really well, and there was a promotion. So I applied for it thinking there's no way I'm going to get it. And I even said that when I applied and I had the interview. I was like, look, I know I'm not going to get this, but I thought, why not? Because this is at least telling you guys that I'm interested in like getting more hours and stuff like that. So no expectations. It was like the most low-key fucking interview you could ever imagine. And then I got it. Over tons of people who had way more seniority than me. Because I was good at my job. And the other people weren't. Because they just wouldn't show up at work all the time. So when I found out, and I was rooting for someone else to get the job, and during my interview I said, I really hope that she gets it because she should have that. I was rooting for her. And then when I got it and everyone else had already found out, I sent a text to that girl and I said, I'm so sorry, like I just applied, I didn't think that anything was going to come of it. I really thought that you were going to get it, and I said that I wanted you to get it, and I don't know what happened, but I'm so sorry, and I hope that you're not mad at me and that you can forgive me, and all of which is not necessary. But she's like 22, so and then she basically destroyed me, because when I got to work, they started to spread rumors about me, how I didn't clean enough, and I wasn't nice to people that I was taking care of, and that I wasn't nice to staff, and that I was just like this horrible person, which conveniently only happened before and after I got the promotion, and none of it was true. There was none of it was true. They just wanted to destroy me because they wanted to have the job that I was given, that I earned. So I was being bullied so bad at work that I would have to start crying. And like, think about this. This is just after I was brutally sexually assaulted by a coworker. Okay? And now I'm being bullied to the point where I'm crying at work because I don't feel like that's a safe place. I don't feel like I can be there, that I should be there, that anyone wants me there. So I went on stress leave. Wasn't paid for any of it. I was harassed constantly by whoever for when I was going to return to work. And, you know, why? I don't know, because I wasn't getting paid for it anyway. So eventually the person that was like assigned to my case was just a giant bitch, just the biggest bitch ever, and I kept putting up with her shit. And then finally at the very end, she was like, look, like, you can go back to work. What happened to you is not that big of a deal. So, like, you need to go back to work or we're going to have to let you go because this is just, you know, bullshit at this point. That's not fair. And I was like, okay, I just want to say fuck you and I quit. That was it. So that was my love story at Access Family Resources Limited. And that's just the one place. Maybe it's different in other ones. I don't know. I doubt it. But let's give some of the benefit of the doubt. So, since that's happened to me, I've, you know, been dealing with anxiety, with not wanting to go outside, with not wanting to dress nicely, with not wanting to put makeup on, because every time I get attention from a male, I freak out. I just lose it. And it's made me kind of a hermit. Like, I don't leave the house unless I have to, and only now I get to work at a job that I really, really love, where sometimes I fuck up, like today, and it wasn't the best day ever, but, you know, and I was confident today, so I got too cocky. It bit me in the ass. But regardless, it's been really, really tough, and I haven't had a lot of support through it. Although I appreciate all the support from you guys and from my fiance and some of my family, and yeah, I just wanted to share that Canadian law is crap. If you think that we're like magical and everything is taken care of here, it's not. We're not magical. If you're raped, you're fucked. When I met with a victim services person and I told him what happened, he was a retired police officer of like 30 years, and I told him and he started bawling, and he was like, that's why I left, that's why I stopped being a cop, because I hear these stories all the time and they never get justice and it never gets better, and you're gonna have to live with this for the rest of your life and no one's gonna be there to support you or hold your hand. And I wanted to come into this line of work to make a difference that I wasn't making as a police officer. And it's true. So I've had a really, really difficult year. I had been blocking it so much that I never dealt with it. I just kept blocking it. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to think about it. But it's impacted my life very greatly, and I have way worse anxiety and social anxiety, and I'm just kind of a mess, but I'm surviving. I'm back at work, and I'm trying to focus on my wedding next year, and just trying to kind of get through it, because no one is going to really be there to help me through it. And that's what happened. So that's my story of my rape, sexual assault, bullshit, and I guess I just wanted to end it on the note that being assaulted, being raped, being molested is not your fault. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything to deserve it. It wasn't what you were wearing. It wasn't what you said. It wasn't how much you drank. It wasn't anything. Okay? You didn't do anything wrong. The person that did something wrong is the guy or girl that did that to you. They are wrong. They are evil. And I hope that there's a special place in hell for those motherfuckers. Do not feel ashamed. Do not feel embarrassed. Do not feel like you deserved it, you asked for it, that now you're less of a woman, less of a man because of it. Do not fear every single person that you come into contact due to the actions of one or a few, because there's tons of great people out there. And you have to know that we're all here for you, that there are tons of resources that you can look into, and I highly recommend seeing a counselor, and I highly recommend even just, talking to a counselor over the phone, anything that you can do, jotting down notes in your journal, just making notes of how you're feeling when you're feeling that way, and to do your best to still find happiness in your life and to continue living life as you did before, but also to take time to mourn, to cry, to be angry, to feel like there was no justice. You're okay to feel those things. You should feel those things. But if you can, even if it's too late and it's been too much time, if you can tell someone, you should. It helps to get that off your chest. If you can still report it and still charge the person, you absolutely should. You don't have to. And I totally understand why you wouldn't want to, but you should. And just talk to someone, tell someone, let someone else carry some of that weight on your shoulders. And know that you're not alone. And you're never going to be alone. It's an epidemic. And it's one that needs to stop. So, know that I love you and care about you and support you. And know that I so much appreciate your support and your love during what has been a very difficult year. And I really, really hope that from here on out, I'll be doing happier things and thinking about happier stuff and being back to myself, because nothing can hurt more than bypassing your favorite holiday and being sad. So thank you for listening, and if you ever need to talk to someone, I'm here. Always. Thank you for watching. Please share if you think that this could help anyone. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Okay?